everybody. Thank you so much for coming to How to Zoom Effectively. As I was preparing for this seminar, I thought about the best ways to showcase all the capabilities that Zoom has to offer. And what I came up with was not a PowerPoint, but instead a video so I could walk you through all the things in Zoom while I'm not on a Zoom with you. Now, this seminar is going to be broken into two parts: how to Zoom effectively for participants, and also tips for hosts. So first, let's go over participants. So the number one tip I'm going to give you for participants is going to be how to join a Zoom. So I made this mock email as if you were to get from your club with a link inside of it. Now, a link for Zoom can be put anywhere. It could be put on social media. It could be, even texted to you. All you have to do is click on the link. It will open up a Zoom window that will prompt you to open up your Zoom application if it's installed on your computer or your phone. If it's not, you can actually use the web browser. So there we go. That's my Zoom application, and we're in a meeting now. So there's also more than one way to join a Zoom meeting. I'm going to pull that email back up that I sent in. So in this email, it mentioned the Zoom link, but it also mentioned the meeting ID and the password. So another way to join a meeting is to type in the meeting ID and password directly into your Zoom. So I'm going to show you that right now. So I'm going to end this meeting, and then I'm going to open my Zoom. And so when you open your Zoom app, it has these features. It allows you to start a new meeting, to join a meeting. So I'm going to click Join Meeting. And then I'm going to type in this meeting ID number. So it is 8. So you would click join, and you would be in the meeting. Last way to join the meeting is to call in. So a lot of times you would get this notification, and it would have all these different numbers. Basically, you would pick any of these numbers, you would call in, you would enter your meeting ID number and the password, and then you can join the meeting. Number 2 tip that I wanted to show you was how to turn on video. So obviously my video is already turned on, but the how to turn on video button is right down here. A lot of times when you're signing on, your video is likely to be off. So you just click this to turn it on. But the second most important feature is how to mute, which is right next to how to turn on your video. So when your mute is on, it's going to have a X or like a dash through the microphone. But when your microphone is on, you can see the green moving to indicate that sound is being transmitted and that, the different level of your sound. Okay, next thing is how to rename yourself. And so that's pretty easy. So where you see it says participant, so right now it's just one, it's just me. But you click on the participant list, and normally you would go find your name. It is possible that your name would be near the top, or it could be mixed in with the participants. So you go here to where this says more, and you click rename, and you just type in your full name. So also right now I want to mention a tip is that sometimes the host will ask you to change your name, but they ask you to name your club in front of your name so that all the participants are sorted by their club, or they can ask you to put your division in front of your name so that all the participants are sorted by division. Important thing to know is the format. If they want your division, if you're under 10, maybe they want you to put a 0 in front of it so it sorts correctly, or maybe they want you to write out the whole word. So whatever that format is, you want to make sure you have the right format so it sorts correctly. And then you just click rename, and it saves. The next thing I want to show you is the different views that Zoom has to feature. And to show you that, I'm going to open up on my other laptop. This is my daughter's Zoom that she uses for school. And so I added a participant so you can see the different views. So you could do gallery view, which would put all the participants into little squares, or you could do speaker view, which would allow whoever is speaking to be featured. But usually it's always the other person. Your own Zoom will always be on top. And so while we're on that, if you were in speaker view and there was a whole row of people and this person is on the screen but you didn't want this person, you could double click on anyone's screen and it will pin that person's screen. So So that way, like, even if they're not talking, you can see them, or if no one's talking, then you could pin their screen. To unpin, there's a button right here that says unpin video. So sometimes I believe some participants might have accidentally pinned someone's screen and they're in gallery view, but the person who's talking is not the person who's on their big screen, and they're like, why am I only seeing this one person? And it's, you just have to unpin the video, and I prefer gallery view. That way you can see all the people on the screen. Next tip is virtual backgrounds. So as you can see, I'm using a virtual background. Virtual backgrounds are very useful for when you need to give specific information or identify that you're with a specific organization. It also helps with branding if you're attending a chamber meeting and you have your Kiwanis logo on top. It's also great if you have a lot of stuff going on in back of you that might be distracting. Like if you have small children, which I do, obviously, if she was to run by right now, the virtual background will actually prevent it from picking it up. So to set the virtual background, you go right here to right next to your video button, and right here there's a virtual background button. And you click that, and it gives you a list of all of your virtual backgrounds that you have in there. You can also choose none, which won't show a virtual background. And then you can also go here and you can click add image or add video. There's virtual backgrounds that actually move. Like for example, it's the skies that's moving, or wings. It could be really fun, or it could be very serious. This is a standard Kiwanis virtual background that a lot of people have used. So I'm gonna go back to this right now, and then I close it. So down here also says you can check whether you have a green screen and also whether you want it to mirror your video. So most people have that on, so it's easy to figure out when you lift your hand, you'll know exactly which one because your video is mirrored. Next up, repositioning your iPad or your laptop. So right now I'm facing you directly and my camera is pretty much eye level with me. So that is a suggested view. There are times where you log on to Zoom and people are like this. So it's like they're looking up your nose, or there's been times where it's very, very, very close, or there's times where you only see a portion of it. So the easiest way to fix the reposition is literally just get some books and prop your laptop up. My laptop right now is sitting on a stand. As soon as we started all this virtual Zooming, I purchased a stand so then I could put my keyboard underneath and papers and that. But your laptop needs to be lifted slightly so that your camera is eye level with you. And then also, if you're zooming with your phone, if you're looking down like this, then what they see is a view where they're just looking up at you. So it's important to lift it almost directly to eye level so that they can see you and it looks like you're engaging with them. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through some tips from the host point of view. So if you are the host of a meeting, it's really important that you deliver the best meeting you possibly can, because we are already distanced, we're already lacking that personal interaction. So here are some tips to effectively Zoom if you are the host. Well, the first thing is how to set up a meeting. So I'm going to end this, and I'm going to open my Zoom app, and it's going to have all of these features. Click schedule a meeting, and so you could type in Roland Heights Kiwanis August meeting, and then you can select the time, so 6 p.m. the date obviously, and then the time it ends, which is 6 p. Oh, this is a.m. So 6 p.m. and then 7 p.m. And you can choose whether you would like it to require a password or not. You can choose to have video on or off. This is just for the start of the meeting. Obviously, even if you put host video off, when you start the meeting, you can still turn the video back on. And then also whether you're allowing people to call in from their phones. And then this part is just where you would like the reminders to be. There's also some advanced settings. One that a lot of people really like is enabling waiting room. This was basically a feature that was added to prevent Zoom bombers, to prevent people from joining your meeting that you don't know. Also, I particularly like this one where enable people to join before the host. If you're the host, sometimes you have people who want to join the call, maybe 15-20 minutes early just so they can make sure everything's set up on their computer. So you want to allow them that option. And then mute participant upon entry. If you're expecting a large attendance of people, like 50, 70, or 100, it might be a good feature to turn on so that when person comes in, they're not disrupting everything that's going on. So then you just click schedule, and it goes into your meetings. So you click meeting, and you see this is the meeting that we just typed up to schedule. So obviously this was just a mock, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. You can schedule as many meetings as you want, as far out as you want, and then I'm just going to delete this. Oh, before I delete that, so how you would send that invitation out. Right here, it has a thing that says copy invitation. You would just copy that. The invitation is copied to your clipboard. You would go pull up an email, and then you would just click paste, and all of that would be pasted. And then when you log into your Zoom, you would go to meetings, and then this meeting, and you would just click start, and the meeting would start. This is how you would turn on your camera, like I said earlier. Before I move on from the subject, I wanted to point out that you can also edit your meeting, but also I wanted to point out the fact that I put 7 p.m. end time. Well, I put 6 p.m. end time. It's not 6 p.m. right now. So the time you put in here is mainly for your invitation that you copy and that you're sending out to people. If your meeting runs long, I've seen people where they worry. They're like, oh no, I put in Zoom that my meeting was supposed to end at 7. It doesn't matter. Your meeting can go on for as long as the host would like. And even if the host is not there, the meeting can continue. So now, to show you the next important thing, I'm going to sign into my daughter's Zoom account so I can show you. Okay. So she just joined the call, and when I click participants, it has her right here waiting to be admitted. So you can admit them. Important thing to note is if you click remove, they might not be able to join the call again. They will be blocked from trying to join the call again. So that's kind of important. And then also, if you have a lot of people, like when you sign on to your account and there's 35, there's 100 people waiting, there's a button up here that says admit all. So you just admit them, and they're able to join the call. Next tip is how to rename other participants. So sometimes you have someone join the call and you ask them to rename themselves and they not necessarily know how to do that. Or it might be easier for you to just go over here. You click more and you click rename, and then I would put in her real name. So there you go. And then also when I clicked here for more, you notice there's a couple more features. I can make someone a co-host. So a great thing about making someone a co-host is that they have all the abilities that you have. They can help you rename participants. For our Division 35, our first DCM, we wanted all the participants to rename themselves, but back in March and stuff, it was very difficult for people to figure out how to do stuff. So instead, I just brought on 2 or 3 other of my friends who were very familiar with Zoom, and I made them all co-hosts. I think there's a limit on co-hosts, but I haven't found it yet. I've made up to like 5, 6, 7 people co-hosts. And once they're a co-host, they have the ability to do a lot of the features that you do. And then here there's make host. So 2 tips for this. One is if you're the host of the meeting and you have to leave early for some reason, you can make someone host and then leave and the meeting will not end. Another tip is if you're using a free account and your time is running out and it's almost at 40 minutes and there's a counter coming down because free accounts only have 40 minutes that they can host, you can make someone who has a pro account a host, and I've seen that most likely that it will take away the timer because it will think that it's that person's meeting. So those are a few things. You can ask to start video for someone if the computer detects that's a capability. But again, they will have the ability to do that. And then you could put someone back into a waiting room if you're not ready for them just yet. Or if, for example, if you guys are having a club voting or something and you need the candidates to be out of the room, you can do that as well. Next tip is, mute all. So I'm gonna let her back in. And then down here, so this is on the participants list. Down here, there's a button that says mute all. The feature that comes up is allow participants to unmute themselves. So you can uncheck this. So you would mute everyone, and then they wouldn't have the ability to unmute themselves. But you can check allow them to unmute themselves. So for example, I say I'm not going to allow them to unmute themselves. I could come back down here and I could change that at any time. So I come back down here, click more, and then allow participants to unmute themselves right here. So once that's checked, participants can unmute themselves at any time. That's another great thing about co-host. If you're a co-host, then they will always have the ability to unmute themselves. Next tip is share screen. This feature is so useful. It's so amazing because you can use PowerPoint presentations. You can show them websites. So all you have to do here is click share screen, and it will pull up all the screens that you have up. So this is a web browser that I have up. This is my Chrome, but also it has your desktop. So I have two desktops, so it gives me these two features. So if you click your desktop, the great thing about it is you can bring things in and out of it, and it will share. So for example, if I was to share this browser, over this browser, so this is the browser that I'm sharing right now. If I was to click over to this browser, or if I was to click over and open a new browser, they wouldn't be able to see that. The entire time they would be on this browser. So that is an important thing to note, because a lot of times I've seen people, they've sharing this browser, and then they go and they're like, oh, let me show you this other thing, and they clicked over here. All the participants are seeing is still this browser, because you share that browser, not that screen. So another cool thing to know is this bar is normally up on top when you're sharing your screen. So you can still mute yourself. You can still stop your video. Usually your screen's down here and you can see the participants. A cool thing to know, and I feel like a lot of people don't use this, is new share. So say for example you were sharing the screen and you needed to share something else. You just click new share, and the people on the call, they won't be able to see the screen. They'll only still be able to see that screen that you're showing them. And then you can say, for example, if you want to share your desktop, or you can go ahead and share this desktop. Once you share this desktop, anything you click on, any windows you click on, anything you minimize, like you minimize this, they will be able to see the entire content of that screen. So keep that in mind. And another tip when it comes to share screen is, when you're about to share a screen, think about whether that screen will add value to your presentation. I've seen people where they shared an entire screen and all it said on there is one word. For example, for a DCM. So if you're moving from one section to another section, if you're sharing like divisional leadership reports, for example, if all it says on the screen is divisional leadership reports, you don't need to continuously share that screen. It takes 2 seconds to read those words. It would be better if you stop sharing screen so everybody can see all the participants. But if your PowerPoint slide says divisional leadership team, and then it lists whoever is speaking or the content they're speaking, then it may be valuable for the participant to see that. I think one of the biggest pet peeve of mine is when someone is sharing screen and it says nothing. It says nothing on that screen that is useful for that particular time. In that case, I'd rather them stop sharing screen so I get to see all the other participants on the screen. With that said, I'm going to stop sharing screen now and show you the next feature for our host. The next thing is under the security tab right here. So this security tab has a wealth of possibilities. So this allows your participants to share screen. They allow them to use the chat feature. They allow them to rename themselves. And it also has a feature called lock meeting. So this was created for a fear of Zoom bombers. If you're going to have a meeting and you know only 5 or 6 people are on there, and it's a sensitive meeting, maybe you guys are talking about a board vote, you can click lock meeting. Once your meeting is locked, no one else will be able to join, even if they have the password. And it's just basically like locking the door. Now, remove participant. You also want to be careful of this. Once you remove a participant, they will not be able to join that Zoom at all. So to be careful with that feature. If you want someone to log off and log back on, it's better if you just ask them to leave the room and then to log back on. Or again, like I said, to put them in the waiting room feature. And the last thing I want to talk about also has to do with that muting participants. So when you click the participants list, you'll be able to see if the participant has capability of video and audio, but you'll also be able to see who's talking. So I'm talking right now, so you see that moving. Now, if you have a long list of participants and you're hearing some loud background noise, you could just go to the participant list and you can see who's making that sound, and you go ahead and you just mute them. Another way is to go up directly to their screen and click mute or unmute. If you click unmute, they'll get a message that says the host would like to unmute you, and they have the decision to unmute themselves at that time or not. So the next feature I want to talk about is chat. So as we said in the security feature, we were able to click whether we wanted to enable the chat or not. Chat is a great feature if you want some participants to talk amongst themselves, or sometimes you want them to write out like their email addresses or to share information. You can also be able to share a file. You can share links. It's a great way to share different things, but it also could be a distraction. If you're having a very serious meeting with a lot of participants, you can turn off chat so that it doesn't allow them to do that. You can also turn off the ability for them to talk privately. So that's something that I wanted to cover in the participants tip as well, is that if you wanted to send a message directly to just one person, you can click up here and you click chat, or you could come in here, you can click their name and it's chat privately. So you could just send a message just directly to them, or you can send a message to everyone. And not everyone will be able to see. One quick tip about this is if the meeting is being recorded, and you'll see a little recorded button up there, your private chats are not private. When the host downloads the content of the meeting, they will still be able to see private chats. So be careful what you say in there. So with that, that is all the tips that I wanted to cover today. Of course, there's tons of other features that Zoom has to offer, but I didn't want to go too much in depth, but these are some of the tips that I feel like all of our Kiwanis can start using right now. This video will also be made available on YouTube in case you wanted to go back and review any of the features. So thank you and happy Zooming.